Thank you for inviting me. I was just here a few weeks ago. I was one of the learning session speakers on the healthcare, ASPI. I talk about artificial intelligence trends in healthcare. My challenge then was my computer did not work with the system. So I had to run there and load my PDF. So I was telling the team to test first. You know? Sorry. There. Let me now go to my topic. And it's about innovating and becoming creative in our evangelism efforts. Bradley Kelly said, anything is possible, okay, but not always probable. Innovators increase the probability of the impossible. This is very true. Sharing with you my outline for today, church trends, what's currently happening, key innovative evangelism insights, digital presence challenges, and of course a summary of my short talk. In Psalms 96:3 it says, declare His glory among nations, His marvelous deeds among all people. When you talk about innovative evangelism, we're not talking about simply preaching. It's about connecting, creating interesting and relevant content, and effectively promoting the love of Jesus. I just saw this newspaper article. This article is more than 20 years old. Imagine 20 years ago, launching a website was a newsworthy article. Now students can create actually websites. This was, I launched this together with the late Nani Perez of the Justice Secretary at that time. And I was then the Chief Technology Officer of EPLDT. I was like 35 pounds heavier then. And of course, with me was the son of the late ambassador, late DFA Foreign Affairs Secretary, Albert Del Rosario, buddy. So he was with me. So imagine, this slide always reminds me to be relevant, to always be updated. Because things that we know before might not necessarily be true today. Let's now go to church trends. Why do we need to innovate? So these are some trends that are happening, which I'm sure everybody will appreciate. COVID really changed the way we do worship. COVID has forever changed the way we consume the gospel. When the church were closed, we were forced to adapt digitally. This study was made by the Barna Group. If you look at the Barna Group is a 40-year-old research company based in Fort Worth, Texas, USA, who focuses on leading Christian leaders, finding out what's happening, and giving them guides in what to do. This is what's happening right now after COVID. If you look at the diagram, the black slide there, this is demographic, says people have stopped attending entirely. The gray there is, I've started attending a new church. Green is, I've attended multiple churches. And blue is, I have attended the same church. The bottom line of this figure is, not everybody came back after pandemic. And if you look at this, surprisingly, the boomers, like me, have stopped attending for whatever reason. And the boomers are actually the pillars of the traditional church. And they have what? Stopped attending. They have the bigger. So this is just shows you what's happening right now after the pandemic in terms of attendance. This is a weekly church attendance by generation. And if you look at this diagram, what it shows only is the millennials, the Gen Z, the Gen X are now attending church services. They're now going back. And it just shows here that it's easier to mobilize the young people like you. Okay? Before, most volunteers are boomers. They do visitation, they go outside, right? But the trend is now becoming different. The good news about this slide is I am more open to God today than I was before the pandemic. I'm not sure if this is happening in your countries, in your areas, but this is a study done by the Barn Group in the US, in America. The good news here is the young people right now are spiritually open. That means they are reachable. And the challenge for us church leaders, and especially the media people, is be able to find a way where these young people or those that are open to spiritual, to have a dialogue, to have a way where you can discuss with them the truth, no? Who are ready to listen. So it says here, and who are ready to listen to a new generation will find themselves in the best position to do Gen Z. And that is the reason, one of the reasons why, or drivers, we really need to innovate in terms of what we've been doing. Taylor Swift. This is a good example. This slide shows that the line between digital and in-person is now blurring. What do you mean? It is not a choice now of having a traditional church and an online church. Taylor Swift have proven that. If you look at Taylor Swift, her song in Spotify and in the Billboard have topped all records. And now she has surpassed the Beatles record of what? 60 years, no? For being in the top 10 for consecutive weeks. And that is the digital side. But look at the tickets, the eras. Countries have been fighting for that. Philippines and Thailand have been questioning why it's exclusive to Singapore. All I'm saying is, this is a prime example of online and traditional churches. It's not a choice now because being online and being physically present now is a common thing. This is a good quote. Fantastic online presence drives demand for what? In-person experience. Because the line is now becoming thinner. A hybrid church is now just simply a church. So there's no more hybrid or there's online, in-person. It's just simply a church. It's a must to have a digital presence and an in-person presence. Why? Because churches that embraces online ministry will start seeing results. Another challenge. We do have very talented pastors. We have very talented preachers. Amazing content. I remembered one time, I was with one of the head elders of Pasay. And he was so amazed about a very talented young speaker. And the person he was talking to said, "That's really a good talk, but I've heard that 6 times already." In other words, even for amazing speakers, sometimes the tendency is to repeat it, right? So what does this slide say? The sermon isn't the draw that used to be. It's an anchor. Later on, I shall be discussing what's an anchor. The future now is what? Preaching would not draw a crowd nearly as much as it will anchor a crowd. So what are some anchors? Later on, as we look into how to innovate, we'll find some anchors. This is also a challenge. pastoral burnout. In the States, some pastors are already what? Considering resigning because of burnout. So if you look at the ratios here, it says by March 22, it's 42% considered yes, and things like that. And what is the solution? Pastoral burnout will stabilize as pastors embrace the new innovative church. My challenge is, if I'm a traditional pastor, I have to think of the sermon again. And what are the reasons why our ministers are having burnout? I'm not saying it's happening in your country. I'm not saying it's happening in SSD. All I'm saying is this is a reality. Okay? This is a reality, and that is where our people like you can help, and help by innovating and being creative in terms of how we spread the gospel. Let's see some of the stressors. So what are the stressors? Not enough volunteers. There's not much volunteers now. Everybody's busy. Worrying about attendance. Some in-person church gatherings sometimes are delayed because there's not much people still attending. They're still waiting for people to come. Pastoral care responsibilities. Worrying about finances. Okay? What else? Demands of various programs, not enough staff, pressure to keep address or keep silent about low pay, being so these are realities. And we have to understand our leaders and our ministers, and it's up to us to innovate and help them, okay, in terms of hopefully compensating some of these stresses. Let's now go to key innovative evangelism insights. I was just given 20 minutes, so I'll try to. I just picked 4. There are many ways, but I just picked 4. First, embrace digital evangelism. I know this sounds cliche, but I'm not talking about your churches, our organization having online presence. I'm not talking about streaming the sermons every weekend. I'm not talking about having a presence in social media, uploading content in YouTube. It's more than that. You have to be focused, and you have to have tools to ensure that what you're doing is effective. Number 1, search engine optimization. While king is content, okay, it is only good as your keyword. Let's do a test. If you Google SSD, what does Google say about SSD? Huh? Solid state drive. It's a hard drive. Solid state drive. Well, I'm not trying to ridicule SSD, but this is an example of, if you don't use the right keywords, you will not be searchable. Sometimes the challenge is not the content. The challenge is delivery. How do you make your content searchable? How do you make sure the right people get your content? I have a very good sermon, but it's in YouTube. Why? Because probably the title is not good. Sometimes, even the title of your YouTube, the title of your sermon, has a big impact in terms of people being able to look at what you have posted. So this is use this. Search engine optimization. Second, create what? Mobile-friendly apps. Or mobile apps. Ellen G. White, the Bible, hymnals, have now what? Apps. Use mobile apps. Create applications on mobile apps. In your churches, in SSD. Why? Because a lot of people rely on mobile devices for what? Their daily devotionals, their church calendars, prayer requests, sermons. Your announcements can be done. And it's not difficult right now. You can create apps. I'm part of Project Grow, and I think we have developed a certain app already, and we're now testing it. You can do this similarly in your organizations. What else? Implement stewardship digital payments. This is very important. When we had pandemic, churches were closed. How do boomers give offering? Through cash, through check. But since they cannot attend church, they have no way of giving payment, of giving their tithes and offerings. A responsible organization should have what? Digital payments. I was invited by ASI to talk about digital faith and things like that. And one of the things they complained about was people are not even using PayPal to pay their membership. And when they asked me, I too will not pay using PayPal. Why? Because it charges me 3 to 5% additional. And when I can do a bank transfer and others. My key here is, if in the Philippines, use what? GCash, Maya, or whatever. Why? It's also inclusive. The challenge here, I think, is also on the structure. Are there people from our financier, treasury? I know when you come up with different devices, there's a need to have board approval and things like that. But use this, no? Because the good thing about GCash, PayMaya, InstaPay is I don't have to have a bank account. I can give so much, right? Curate content. One of the things, of course, creating an original content is good. But curating is a good option. Why? My talk is not original. I curated it. People thought that by curating content, you're plagiarizing. That is not true. There are a lot of newsletters in the internet, like BuzzFeed, etc., that really don't have writers. No, they just get something from the internet. Content curation means gathering information relevant to a particular topic. Curating content is not plagiarism. You should acknowledge your idea and sources of people that will be helpful. So curate. You should learn how to curate. Oops. Okay, next. Apply digital analytics. One of my mantra, and especially in businesses, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. How many of you even measure people who are accessing your website, your content, profile? That is why most websites now say accept cookies and the like. Analytics. And if you look at this data, it says, no, by Center of Church Communication, 76% don't track their online marketing efforts. Are you doing digital analytics on your digital presence? Or are you just posting content on your web, on your social media platform? This is something you should look into. Include analytics. Okay. So that's my last on digital. Second, do mass personalized ministry. Individualized care. In business, there's what we call mass customization. Mass customization is using an assembly line, but the output can be different colors, different sets, and things like that. You can still do the same. And why is this important? Instead of just one size fits all, okay, you should personalize evangelism. And you should recognize your target market, your audience, and even your church members. Because if it's not relevant to them, like for example, young people, mental health, right? That's the buzzword right now for a lot of people. You should focus. Involves understanding context, struggles, especially for some of our countries here who are challenged with non-Christians. You can find a common area. Food, health. You can even hype on what's the Netflix show about that's featured Adventist who's more than 100 years old, right? You can put that as a platform and as a trigger. And lastly, AI enhances evangelism but cannot be replaced. AI can help you on this. AI is something that you could use. So let's now go to the third. Use AI ethically for evangelism. I'm sure some of you are using ChatGPT, Copilot. I did not include here Google. Or what's the Google chatbot? It's not Bard anymore. Gemini. But there's been a lot of fiasco about Gemini generating different images and things like that. And did you know that OpenAI, ChatGPT, will be launching a new product? Are you aware of that? What's a new product? Have you heard about Sora? Sora in Japanese is sky. It's text to images, text to video. And this is really more for the people like you. It's being tested and it's being open. Use these tools. It's all there. And there are many other AI tools that you can use. Chatbots, connect audience, use AI to generate images like Bible characters. Use AI to create websites and convert multiple languages. In other words, use AI ethically. Ethically means judiciously, because not all information from AI are true, right? And so you have to make sure that your team also reviews this. Okay. By the way, fourth item, very important, use AI to create social media posts. This is also part of curating. You can actually report there on the first line. You can repurpose and amplify. I forgot to highlight this. What I'm saying is if I have a long sermon and if I use technologies like ChatGPT, I can repurpose and amplify my sermon. By what? Breaking it into posts, social media, or even a book. And extend you. And create the necessary content. By the way, I forgot to highlight that. But AI is a good tool to repurpose your sermons or your content. Convert it into blogs, social media posts, and things like that. And at the same time, use search engine optimization to check whether it's effective or not. Let's now go to the fourth rather. Build seeker communities. This is the anchor I was talking about. Not the sermon. In Grow, if we have a music fest, there's a lot of people that's gonna attend. You need to build a seeker community. When I talk about a seeker community, I'm not talking about an Adventist community per se. And allow me to share some of the communities that we've built. Epic Travels. We created a travel agency where we attracted people. We have converted people just joining our travels. And that became a business too. Create communities. And you can do this online, because this is where people will find out, oh, there's an epic travel tour, they're going to these places. And when people join, we're there. You can actually witness. The key today is show and tell. Before I can even tell you about the love of Jesus, about Sabbath, the blessings, why there is Saturday, coming up with things like this is a good instrument. Community outreach, Project Link Up in the Philippines. When you talk about outreach programs, they're there. In Project Grow, we even have a project in the north, where we sponsored and scholars and students. And some have graduated already and going to college. You'll be surprised. Young people spend to help other people. Do outreach programs. Make it intentional. And this is open. There was even one time we went to Humalig. It's an island near Quezon, Polillo, where there were more non-Adventists who joined. And some were also converted using that. Of course, you have regular online devotional sharing. This is happening. Small groups, we have Cafe Life. We call it Cafe Life. Sports activities. There are countless ways where you can build an anchor on your church. Anchor activities. And these can only be driven by creating very attractive online presence. Inviting. Non-sectarian. Seeker. It's a seeker community. It's a seeker community. Of course, there are certain challenges that you have to look into. And what are these challenges? Of course, I'm sure everybody knows about data privacy and security, balancing technology and what? And tradition. Like we all know that in-person is better than online. You still have to meet and things like that. Transparency and ethical concerns. Fake news, bullying, hate speech. This is something you have to look into. And lastly, digital literacy. This is a challenge especially for baby boomers, There's a need for them to appreciate all of this. So I think I'm on time. So just to give you a summary, we've discussed about embracing digital, do mass personalized ministry, use AI effectively or evangelism, build seeker communities, and of course I've discussed something about the challenges. I know this is just a teaser. There's a lot to do, but I hope this has encouraged a lot of you to be more intentional, more specific, more thorough in terms of your evangelism and digital program progress. So, since I curated, these are some of the sources, you would see that a lot of the things I've discussed is actually in these sources. So, thank you so much. Okay, sure.
Hello. Thank you so much, Sir Manny. By the way, I forgot to mention, like to recognize the wife of our speaker this morning, Dr. Vivian Dizon, who is with us in the crowd. Hey, there you go. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome. Welcome, Doc. Welcome. All right, so guys, we're going to transition to a little in-depth talk of what Sir Manny discussed with us this morning. So, Sir Manny, I'm Edward, and we have Tony who'll be going around earlier to hear the questions of our crowd also. But I'd like to follow up with, go straight to our discussion. No? Kasi we have guests here, or delegates, not only from the church organization, but also we have delegates from hospitals and schools, institutions. And the idea is to work collaboratively because in a way, we wanted to help our schools and hospitals to not only be a part of the marketing process of getting to know and be known by different communities in our territories, but also them to be an avenue of God's kindness that will be shared to their respective territories as well. So in terms of innovation, Sir Manny, what advice or what do you think are ways on how different institutions, organizations with different fields can collaborate together to, represent our church?
I think what we did with ASPI, I'm not sure if you're familiar with ASPI, is we organized all the different Adventist hospitals in the Philippines. We came up with a lot of shared services. In the same manner, when I look about when ASPI was being created, I was asked a question in terms of what's the difference between this ASPI and different hospitals. When I started EPLDT, I did not hire additional people. We started with just 3 of us. In 10 years' time, we were like 30,000. My point is, schools, why don't you organize yourselves, and have a common platform? Hospitals, that's what they're doing. Instead of, for example, creating very deep data privacy, technical people on each of the hospitals, we just created one. So my suggestion is, you need to organize yourself as schools, same interest group, and come up with a common platform. In SSD, in ASI, I told them that each company doesn't have to create their own platforms. ASI can come up with a single platform where they can congregate. They can put their businesses. So you have economies of scale. In the same manner, people thought that if I join this group, I lose my identity. That is not true. If you look at the super app that's being generated by the government, because Ivan Uy, the DICT head, is a close friend of mine, he has a very good concept. Just one single portal, and then it goes to SSS, it goes. So you can do the same. And you have economies of scale. even if the school is or the hospital is not as big as MAMC, or the MAMC, okay, that I know of, you can leverage these things to the people or to the other schools, other hospitals.
So picking up with what Sir Manny said, in a broader scale, a school does not only represent the school itself, well, it's good, but also it represents the church. So meaning to say, whatever content a school or a hospital come up with, regardless of what video or whatever it is a good practice that we share it with our organizations, the same thing with our organizations, so that we can collaborate in disseminating information, content within our sphere of influences, within our territories. What happens normally is that whatever content that we create as a institution, it stays in our institution. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's the observation, right? So what we are trying to encourage is that whatever the hospital creates, whatever ADRA creates, whatever the school creates, the organization, the mission, the conference collaborates by sharing that content as well. And in turn, the hospital, the school will also do the favor for the missions and conference, contextualize in their field of expertise. Now, Sir Manny, you would like
but just a follow-up. But you have to train them, because you can't just allow people to just upload content. There should be a screening process. There should be a good framework. So there's certain uniformity in terms of how people will look at the different content.
Now, guys, if you want to be part of the conversation, please raise your hand. Sir, go ahead. Microphone, please. Green.
Okay, thank you, Sir Manny, for the very, very good presentation. I was sleepy a little bit, but when you present something, my eyes become clear. What I'm going to ask regarding to digital evangelism challenge. Since you know we are live in Asia and mostly the church members are baby boomers era. So when we apply digital evangelism, they thought that this is a part of us. So it seems that they neglect it. But since they are the leader of the church right now, even in the mission and conference or reunion, sometimes they just use their left eyes to look over the digital evangelism. My question is how to solve it. How can we, what we're going to do in order to make them understand that this era is a digital evangelism era. So all of them, even they can convince their son, their kids to do this. But now, our challenges in Indonesia, we do hard, we are trying hard, but it seems they're still thinking, this is our rule and regulation. This is our tradition. So my question is, how can we solve that? Is there any suggestion regarding to that matter? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I think you have to start with something relevant to the people who are involved. Okay, you have to be relevant. In other words, it doesn't have to be religious right away. Second is, you need to have the infra. I remember in Indonesia, there was one time I was invited to speak, and he was saying, our problem, Manny, is that we don't have very good internet. And I told them, have you heard about Starlink? And I was so shocked because he said, what's Starlink? My point is, sometimes, do you know the self-fulfilling prophecy? If you say, he will not be, if you say your child is poor, your child is bad, self-fulfilling prophecy would mean eventually he will really be poor, he will really be bad. So what I'm saying is we have to open. I don't know if you have heard about Beulah Land Wellness in Laguna, owned by Gajel, a friend of ours, Wellness. He wanted to invite my wife to speak on wellness, and I told him, do you have internet there? No, Manny, it's choppy here. Why don't you buy Starlink? And he was saying, Manny, we're so excited. We didn't know that there are technologies like that. You have to complement it with solutions. Of course, culturally, it's going to be difficult, but the value of having all of this presence, later on, I think Jasper will speak, even in the mountains now, you can have content. I think this is one of the things that we should be doing. The challenge is we have stereotyped some of our target markets. There's no internet, we'll just, but these are all possible now. In pandemic, I was so surprised because people, even in the marketplace, are now aware. The devices, the mobile phones, it's all there. It's just a matter of time. You just have to prepare. Content is very important. And sometimes the challenge is really on the delivery side. So relevant, make yourself relevant. I've shown you my picture more than 20 years ago, right? You have to be relevant. And in Indonesia and other countries probably, it's going to start, it's going to happen. And who knows, you might post something viral and that changes everything. Taylor Swift, I'm not trying to idolize her, is something that have changed online and in person. Because I kept on saying, if you seen very good content online, the next behavioral challenge is you want to see the person. You want to see you want to see the church. When you see that this church has very happy programs, you'll be shocked. In Project Grow, there were people who were attending us and they just found out that Project Grow, Urban Ministry of our mission, is doing something like this. And it's a seeker community, it's an Adventist organization, but we're very open with others.
Sir Manny, I'd like to pick up with what Pastor said. In context, sometimes we, as a church, we are in the business of really sharing Jesus at the onset, right? We in any platform that we have, regardless whether it be school or organization, the mindset is that I have to share Jesus. But the question, Sir Manny, is, does it always work that way? I mean, at any platform that I'm going to use, video, writing, is it necessary to put Jesus at the forefront? Or I'd like to refer to your the Project Lingap and the Cafe Life. How important is it to create that relationship, to establish that relationship, online and offline, to create that connection to people we're trying to reach out?
That is why I said seeker community. You have to target, because there are communities that are matured. But seeker community is people who might be agnostic. These are non-Christians, but they love to help other people. As I have mentioned a while ago, the trend now is show and tell. I cannot tell you to keep the Sabbath. You have to show me why I have to keep the Sabbath. And you can do a lot of activities during Saturday, hiking. And when the person realizes that, it's good to have a rest day, because it changes my outlook, and that is show and tell. That is show and tell. So you just have to, that's why in my topic, my daughter said, Daddy, isn't it redundant, innovative, and creative? And that's where the creative goes. It's not just purely innovative. You have to be creative in terms of how you would address these people. And that is why, what did I say? Individualized care. Personalized mass care. This is very important. And you have to trigger this. It cannot be just one. This is just my approach. You have to be open. You have to be creative. And you have to be intentional.
All right. And, another point of view, Sir Manny, is that it's also crucial, and you can follow up on this one, it's also crucial in creating a presence, a strong presence, is that when people finds us in whatever platform that we're using, there's always a respond presence, a call to action, wherein people knows that they are being listened to, that people knows that they are being valued because they're being responded. The challenge right now, not only in the division, we have that challenge because we're trying to create a very strong call to action so that people just don't have a dead end. Like when they find us, that's it. We need to find a constant creation in a way that when they reach us, they try to reach us more. They try to find us out more. And that leads us to, and one probably important factor about that is, remember the stewardship part of
Yeah.
things. You might not know, but there are a lot of people outside the church who sees our initiatives and who wanted to help and share their blessings to the church. And they're not even Adventists. However, they can't find a way on how they can share their resources to us because we don't have an online presence wherein we make donations available not only for Adventists but for the global church, for the global community. Sir,
Yeah, precisely my point. Call to action. You have presented a very moving article, and now I want to help. I think my daughter, who will be presenting later, will also show that in terms of call to action. We have lots of experiences. My daughter, during pandemic, have raised more than 200,000 pesos on the spot because people want to help all walks of life by just putting a call of action and make sure that there is a way for them to pay, donate, whether in kind or in cash. This is very important. Except that I was informed before, and I hope it's not true. Oh, it takes a lot of time because the Treasury Department, there's a board approval for these kind of things. That is wrong. You have to make your stewardship payment digital also. So it becomes more inclusive, and the keyword is localized. Don't just use PayPal. Just don't use PayPal. Make it inclusive. Make it inclusive. Philippines use GCash, PayMaya, InstaPay.
All right, any other questions? Sorry. We're good. All right. So if you have any, thank you, Sir Manny. Thank you so much.
I'll be here the whole day.
Yeah. So if you wanted to learn more or ask, Sir Manny is very much available. Have lunch with him, join with him.
By the way, I don't have a minister background, so I'm professional. I used to be in HR in the telecoms, PLDT, before I became head of IT of huge company, telco company here. And I also pioneered BPO. So do not talk about
Call centers.
No. Do not talk about deep Bible.
Okay. Sorry.
doctrines. That's not my forte. My forte is more on the technology, even HR. No, I do a lot of counseling and things like that.
Thank you so much, Sir Manny.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
And
guys.
It's a pleasure for being here.